Is it cheating for me to keep doing these PragerU reaction videos? Do we have to destroy the Earth to save it? All right.
Do we need to destroy the environment to save it? That's the question I face.
So the answer is no, but let's hear the case.
A few years ago, I co-founded a movement that was the precursor to the Green New Deal. It was called the New Apollo Project. If we could send a man to the moon, we reasoned, surely we could save our own planet. All we had to do was harness the power of the wind and the sun and get rid of fossil fuels. Compared to the original Apollo mission, how hard
I don't necessarily see the connection between these two things, but okay.
could that be? Well, it turned out to be very hard, practically impossible, in fact. The basic laws of physics and chemistry proved to be very stubborn. But as I did more and more research, something else began to trouble me. The prospect that pushing the planet toward wind and solar energy would actually cause more harm to the environment than good. There's no better example of this than what wind and solar energy do to birds. Industrial wind turbines, those giant generators of wind power, are the greatest new threat to golden and bald eagles.
So when we talk about moving towards wind and solar and away from fossil fuels, what's at stake is literally hundreds of millions of lives, the entire global ecosystem and economy. If every bird died as a sacrifice to saving the planet and making human and other animal life sustainable in 100 years, that's a worthy sacrifice. I don't think all birds are going to die to the wind turbines. I think that there probably should be a way around this problem. But I would personally kill every bird in the world to stop the climate catastrophe that is coming and that we can prevent with a mass transition away from fossil fuels.
But the eagles are hardly the only ones threatened. Condors, owls, hawks, and falcons all fall prey to the turbine's mighty blades. Big wind.
So like PragerU they're the bird people now. They desperately care about birds. This isn't about the fact that they want to distract people from climate change and the issue that the threat that it poses. They're seriously expecting people to buy this. This isn't about the fact that they are an organization supported by people with a vested financial interest in continuing fossil fuel production. This is really about the birds. We're expected to believe this.
And believe me, there's a big wind industry now, just like there's big oil and big pharma.
Okay.
It claims that house cats kill more birds than wind turbines. That's true, but whereas cats kill small, common birds like...
Are they anti-big industry now, too?
Sparrows, wind turbines
Why does
kill
any of this
big,
matter?
threatened with extinction and slow to reproduce species like bald eagles and condors.
Again, the comparison between a species going extinct, which believe me, we don't like, this does fall under the umbrella of environmentalism, is just not comparable to the entire global ecosystem collapsing from climate change.
Indeed,
what are they talking about?
Industrial wind farms are killing fields for birds. The more turbines you put up, the more birds you're going to slaughter.
Is this entire video going to be about
Conservancy
birds?
In 2017, research shows that hundreds of thousands of birds and bats die every year
Wait, now
when
bats
they accidentally collide with the turbine blades. That number grows with each turbine built. The Royal Society for the Preservation of Birds reports that wind farms built off the coast of Britain could be the final
I guarantee not an organization that the people behind PragerU and the Republican Party would be happy giving money to. Doesn't sound like it to me. But
nail in the coffin for endangered seabirds. The Center for Biological Diversity calls the Altamont Pass wind farm in California
so
a population sink.
Is this just about the effect that wind farms can have on certain animal populations? This is not about destroying the earth. Wait, how would killing all birds, bats, and frogs destroy the earth? So would global climate change.
Golden eagles, as well as
It would kill
burrowing
those
owls.
animals too.
As for solar farms, they produce an entirely different set of problems, although they also are very harmful for birds. In California, according to a federal report,
Still on the birds.
massive solar arrays produce heat up to 900 degrees. When birds fly into those arrays,
It's still
they simply
about
burn up.
birds.
Building a solar farm is a lot like building any other kind of massive industrial facility. You have to clear the whole area of wildlife. For example, in order to construct the Ivanpah solar farm
You guys are in favor of continued oil drilling. What are you talking about?
in California near the Nevada border, developers hired biologists to pull threatened desert tortoises from their burrows. The tortoises were then loaded on the back of pickup trucks and caged in pens, where many ended up dying. Solar farms
This
also
is
need millions
unbelievable.
and millions of gallons of water to clean the mirrors and to generate power. Since most solar farms are built in the desert, we're talking about a precious resource already in short supply. When push comes to shove, water could become the real throttle on renewable solar energy, according to Michael Weber, professor of mechanical engineering at the University of Texas at Austin. Then there's the issue of what to do with solar panels that wear out. The panels
All of
contain
these problems are going to exist, or corollaries are going to exist with our current mode of production of fossil fuel production. But at least we don't destroy at least we don't make the atmosphere unbreathable.
lead and other toxic chemicals that can't be removed without breaking up the entire panel. Since it's far cheaper for solar manufacturers to just buy the raw materials than recycle old panels, those old panels end up in landfills, or as the New York Times discovered in a 2019 investigation, dumped in poor African nations.
Oh my god.
Wind turbines may have an even worse disposal problem than solar panels. First,
Climate change is going to affect the developing world the hardest. What are you talking about?
they are gigantic. A single blade can be longer than a wing on a jumbo jet. Second, they're made of fiberglass, which has to be cut by a diamond-studded saw to be carted away on giant trucks. And as with solar panels, the only thing to do is bury them, toxic materials and all. This is done, as you can imagine, in enormous pits, creating yet another landfill problem. All this environmental degradation
You guys don't think landfills are a problem. What do you mean? Okay.
is happening on a relatively small scale right now because we get less than 10% of our electricity from wind and solar sources. If we were really to embark on a wind and solar build-out of the kind environmentalists advocate, the damage would be much, much greater.
And the negative externalities of fossil fuel production would be much, much lower. The question is which one is worse, but it almost doesn't matter which one is worse in terms of the things you're talking about as far as the increase in landfills and harm to animal populations, because we have to do this or everyone's gonna die.
Consider this. Today's energy system requires just 0.5% of the land in the US. If we were to get all the energy we now use from wind and solar, at least 25% of all land in the US would be required. That's a lot of dead wildlife. Doesn't
How
sound
much
very
land
green,
is
does it?
being used?
I'm Michael
right now?
Schellenberger, founder and president
All
of
that life is
Environmental
gonna die
Progress
if we don't
and
change
author of
our-
Apocalypse Never for PragerU.
If we don't get off fossil fuels. They
Thank you for
don't
watching this video.
care. They don't care about even trying to make arguments that are wrong. They just this is like a triggering the libs video. This is literally just triggering the libs. This is we're going to adopt the aesthetic of your talking points, right? Concern about animals and the environment and landfills or whatever, and say, actually, no, you guys are worse. But they don't care about any of these things intrinsically. They don't care about turtles and birds. It's literally just triggering the libs. That's all conservatism is.